Hey guys, it's Yvette, and here I am with week number 5 in the mini series that Alison and Giucy Giuce are hosting for this little sew along that we're having. And we are at week 5, which means we are making the stretched geese. And that one is, I think it's really cute. I really like, like the flying geese. In general, I just really enjoy the flying geese, and so to see these come together, and plus there's another one, I think it's the last one that we do, where it's like a cross, and I really enjoy that one too, so I can't wait till we get there. But anyway, with this one here, the interesting thing is we are going to be working up the middle, and then we are going to attach the sides. So, and I'm sitting here and I'm counting everything, and there's definitely more than the 10 colors that I have going that way. So I'm going to kind of, try to put in my mind where the midway point is, and I'm going to start going back out. So if you're making one, you might want to think about how your colors are going to land before you start. And so that's what I'm going to do as well. And haven't yet. So I'm sort of going to kind of think it out. And if you look at this, the 4 inches, which, for me is the minimum. I don't mind if it goes a little bit bigger, but I don't want to go less than 4 inches because it's just in my mind, that's what I want to do. So if I'm counting all of the colors that are going to go up, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 different colors. And I have 10 colors. So if I just kind of scooch this up a little bit, and I'm still using that, what do they call this? The paper for foundation piece. It's the foundation paper. So I'm still using the foundation paper. I have found that I really like it. I have put an order in through Amazon for some is it parchment? Vellum. I've put in an order for some vellum, which I'd like to try that as well. It's just taking a long time to come in. If you guys are placing any orders right now, especially with Amazon, the timetable is just a lot longer than it usually is. Understandable, but that's what's going on. So for the meantime, I'm just kind of going with the one that I have found to prefer as we started going through all the papers. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to go through. I've got pink. Where's my others so that I can look and see what I was doing? Okay, here we go. I'm just going to put it down. And then we have this one. And then the orange. Is that right? Yes, the orange. And then I may not have them all cut. What's the next one? Is this that other green? Hold on, let me cut a piece. Okay, so then I have that piece, followed by this one. And then I got cat hairs, of course, all over everything. And then this one, it's that one. And then this one. And that one, and that one. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Why do I think I have 10? What am I missing? Hold up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, I do. So what is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9? Okay, I'm missing something. Hold up. What am I missing? Okay, and this goes here. Okay, so if that's 10, it means I need 5 more. But then that doesn't make them equal. Like I would like for it to start with a color and then end with the same color. That ideally, that's what I would want. Okay, so after some consideration, I've decided that these are the colors that I'm going to keep. And since I'm trying to get to 15 up this way, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So I will go to the purple and then come back. That's the way I'm going to do it. I hope that I've counted everything right, because it seems like every time I do this, I do it wrong. So let me just put these, I'll put these a little bit closer together so that I have them in a little spot over here that will hopefully make it a little bit easier for me to remember what I'm doing. And okay, so I'm gonna scooch these over, and actually I'm gonna have to flip them over because I'm gonna start with that pink. Okay, so looking at the little map, I'm gonna call this my map. What we need to do is, we are not going to be starting on the bottom here. That's going to be one of the last pieces that we put on. Actually, our first one is going to be a piece of color, and then I'm always, or what I think I've been forgetting to say is that think of these, and really any foundation paper piecing project that you're working on, it's a paint by numbers. And the only way this is different is that you actually have to go in the same, you have to follow the numbers where they take you. So when you're putting on your piece number 1, you put that one on, and then you want to add number 2. Now in this case there's 2, but the reason why Giuseppe does that is to remind you that those 2 numbers are the same color. So in this particular instance, it's to help you. So that's how we would put them on. 1 and then 2, 3 and then 4, 5 and then 6. So it's very methodical. I really like these projects for that. It just makes it so much easier to teach. And also to learn. So I'm very excited about, I know I keep saying this, but I just love these projects. So our first one is going to be number 1, which is a color. And for me, it is the pink, right? So you just want to cut a piece that's gonna, you know, fit in there. And I do tend to cut mine a little bit bigger, but it's just, you know, I think it just helps you out. So now our next one, the 2 number 2s, is going to be our background, and for me it is this silver. I'm trying to see, this is the smallest one I've got. Okay, so and then they're going to be put on like in this direction, right? Because they're going to be going like that and like that. So I'm going to cut them about like that. Should be plenty. I'll probably cut this one in half. I could use it on the next one. All right, so let's head over to the sewing machine. Okay, well, before we head over to the sewing machine, I'm so excited to get sewing, you guys. You have no idea. I totally forgot that I do need to cut this down. I'm not going to be able to work with this giant piece of paper. If I were making one that big, then yes, you would have to leave it as big as you can. But for me, I'm going to cut it down. Just makes it a lot easier to work with. So you have the 4-inch is the little dotted line, and then just to the outside of that, about 1/4 inch away, is a lighter dashed line, and that is your seam allowance. So you definitely want to keep that area inside and cut outside of that area. You don't want to cut your seam allowance off. So I'm just going to roughly cut an area, guys. I'm not measuring, or I just know that I'm outside the seam allowance. I'm roughly trying to keep it same. I'm not going to cut the other pieces. I'm just going to cut these 2 sides, and then I'm going to leave the rest of it. Okay, so now let's head over to the sewing machine. Okay, so here we are, and I've got the 2 silver pieces. I'm going to set aside just for a second, and we are going to place, and this is actually the first time that our first piece is a printed piece. Normally our first piece has been the background, which is a solid color, and it didn't matter which way you were putting it on the paper. But now that we have a piece where the first one is a print, we want to make sure that this print is facing the pretty side, because it's not going to be folded over and pressed, right? This one is all set. And as I've said so many times, you want to make sure that this side of your piece of paper is the pretty side. And so we're going to set this piece right there, facing this way, and now we're ready to add one of our number 2s. Okay, so I'm going to take a piece of silver fabric, and normally I would be saying hold it pretty side to you, but it is a solid color, so it doesn't matter. You can flip it either way. And we are going to be sewing this line right between number 1 and number 2. Okay, so we want to make sure that our fabric is at least 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch above the line that we are going to sew. And it is, I don't know if you can see that, but it's right here, and so that should be just fine. Alright, so we're ready to sew that line. I am going to bring my needle down manually so that I can see that it's right at the point where it needs to start. I'm going to lower my stitch length to 1.4 because that's how I set mine. And I'm going to lower the needle. I'll take 1 stitch and then 1 back stitch. And then I'm going to stitch all the way to the end of the line. Don't go before it or past it. You want to just hit that exact spot. One back stitch, and you can cut. Okay, so I have just stitched this line between number 1 and number 2. So I'm going to take my number 2, which is the piece I've added, and I'm going to turn that to the right. And the reason I turn it to the right is because when I fold this back and trim, I'm right-handed. So that's why I'm going to turn it to the right so that I can trim this way. If you're left-handed, you would take number 2 and turn it to the left, fold your paper back, and trim this way. Okay? And you just want to fold it right on that seam that you just sewed down. And I'm going to take my add 1/8 ruler, and the little lip on it is going to butt right up against the seam you just sewed. And trim. Okay, so now I'm going to go over to the ironing board, and I will, and of course you do want to sort of press this back just a little bit to encourage it to lay very flat. And now I'm going to go and pop a hot iron on that and then head over to the sewing machine to sew on the second number 2 piece. Okay, so I've just ironed that side down, and I'm going to take my second silver piece, and we are going to be sewing this second line between 1 and 2. And our piece is going to be placed there instead. So I'm going to take my piece, move it to the back of the fabric, or back of the template, and I'm going to make sure that I place it at least 1/8 to 1/4 inch above the line I'm going to sew. And there it is right there. So I am ready to sew that down. Okay, this is the line that I just stitched, which is this adding the second number 2. So I'm going to take that number 2 and I'm going to turn it to the right. I'm going to fold the paper right on the seam that I just sewed, and I'm going to trim off the excess. All right, so I'm going to go and I will give a quick press to this seam and come right back to pull our colors out. Okay, so I have those 2 pieces pressed, and now the next piece that we're going to add is number 3, and that is our next color. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to cut the piece. And after number 3, we will need 2 more pieces of the silver. So I'll take 1 and 2, and I'll just head over to the sewing machine. Okay, so I'm going to scooch over my silver pieces for just a moment, and we are going to take our colored piece and we are going to hold it pretty side to us, so this way. I'm going to pick up my template and move the piece of fabric to the back, and I'm going to be sewing this line under number 3. And so we just want to make sure that the fabric is at least 1/8 to 1/4 inch higher than that line, which it is. It is right here. See that? So let's give that a quick sew. Okay, so this is the line that I just sewed, or the seam I just sewed. And here it is, right under the number 3. So I'm going to take the number 3, turn it to the right, fold over at the seam I just sewed. And once I have that in place, I'll just trim off the excess. And now I'm going to press this piece and move on to our number 4s. Okay, so now I'm going to take one of our silver pieces and we're going to add the first number 4. We have 2 of them, just like we had 2 number 2s. So I'm going to take my piece and put it to the back of the template, and I want to make sure that the fabric is at least 1/8 to 1/4 inch higher than the line I'm going to sew. Okay, and here we go. Okay, this is the seam line that I just sewed. I'm going to take that number 4 and I'm going to turn it to the right. Flip this over on the seam that I just sewed. And I'm going to trim off the excess. I'm going to give this seam a quick press and then head back to the sewing machine. Okay, that's the seam I just sewed. We're going to take number 4 and turn it to the right. And trim. And now I'm just going to go and press this seam. Okay, so we have done our first color with 2 background pieces, our second color with 2 background pieces, and now we're moving on to our third. So the next one is going to be this orange, and let me just, I'll probably just leave that on there. So I'll just take that piece, and then I just need 2 silver pieces. I'll just cut this one in half, and we are ready to sew. Okay, this is the seam I just stitched. It's number 5, so I'm going to take number 5 and turn it to the right. And then I will trim the excess as soon as I got that ready. Yep, looks good. And now I am just going to press this seam. Okay, this is the seam I just stitched. It is this number 6. So that number 6, I'm going to turn to the right, fold over on the seam I just stitched, and trim off the excess. Hi, Jellybean. And then I'm going to press this seam right here. Okay guys, Jellybean seems very, very comfy right here, so let's just get going. I have just stitched this seam here, so I'm going to flip this over, and this number 6 is the one that I just added. Oh, there he goes. So I'm going to take that number 6 and turn it to the right, and then fold along that seam I just sewed. And I'm going to place my ruler and chop off the excess. And very quickly, I'm going to go and press this seam. Okay, so we have done a few rows here. And so what I'm going to do is, instead of having you watch every single layer till we get to the end, I'm going to continue on my own. And when we get closer to the end over here, I will come back and we will finish it together. Okay, so I have finished all of these rows, and we still have 2 rows of color left. And it's the 2 pinks that we have here. So okay, so that's where we are. I'm going to flip this over. Go on, JB. And the next piece that I'm putting on is number 27 right here. And I'm just going to use this whole piece. Jellybean. He keeps walking on all the fabric too. I don't know what his deal is. Okay, so and then I'm also going to cut a couple of pieces of the silver. Okay. And I think we are ready to go over to the sewing machine. So let's head over there now. Okay, so this is the seam allowance that I just stitched, and it is right here under number 27. So I'm going to take number 27 and turn it to the right, fold it back on that seam allowance, and then I will trim off the excess. Okay, so then I will go over to the ironing board and I'm going to press this seam. Okay, so I just stitched here right under number 28. So I'm going to take 28 and turn it to the right. Fold back on that seam and trim. So I'm going to go and press this seam. I've just stitched that line under this number 28, right? Is that the one? Under this one. Okay, so I'm going to take this 28, turn it to the right, fold over at the seam, and trim. I will press this seam and be right back to cut our next pieces. Okay, so our last color piece is going to be a pink like this. And it's right here. I'm going to just cut just like I've been doing the others. And then, let's see, I think I still have to do the silver. So let's do that. Okay, so let's head over to the sewing machine. Okay, so we have actually finished all of our colors and everything associated with our stretched geese. And now, when we flip this over, we are going to look at the last 3 pieces that we need to add on. So what we're going to do first is this piece, and then this one and this one, because we've got 57, 58, 59. Okay, so we just need a little baby piece right here. So I'm just going to use this one because it will more than cover what we need. Okay, so that one will go there and that'll be just fine. What we'll do is we'll go and add this piece first. We will come and do our trimming and then we will press. And then after that, we will add number 58. Now I did cut some bigger pieces so that we could have that spot. And the first thing I want to do, actually, is I'm going to just trim this selvage off. And now that we have that, see, this way it wouldn't be big enough. So I'm going to lay it this way. And what I want to do is I need it to cover at least to the seam allowance out here and here. So what I'll do is I'll probably just go the whole length. That way I know that I'm totally covered. And the other side will be pretty much the same thing. So I'll just lay this down this way and cut another piece. Okay. And I can save this for later. And let's get over to the sewing machine. Okay, so I'm going to move these two pieces to the side. And this one, as I said, is going to go right down here on 57. And just like with anything else, if I'm sewing on number 57, I want 57 to be toward the top. And I'm going to take my piece and I'm going to move it to the back of the template. And I want the top of it to be at least 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch over the line I'm going to sew, just as always. So I'm going to put it right there, and I can see the line right here, which is plenty. And I just want to sort of make that look a little bit better. That looks good. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so here is the line I just stitched, and I'm going to flip it over. Number 57 is the piece I added. So I'm going to take 57 and turn it to the right. Fold over on that seam allowance I just sewed. And trim. So I'm going to go and press this and then head over to the sewing machine. Okay, so we have that piece sewn down, and we're going to take one of these guys and we are going to add it to number 58, which is right here. And so we're going to take our fabric and we're going to move it to the back of the template. And again, it's the same as doing any other piece. We are going to make sure that it's at least 1/8 to 1/4 inch higher than the seam we are going to sew, which is this whole line all the way across here. And that's going to be from the dotted line to the dotted line, not the like slightly gray, or the, I don't know, I say that's a dotted line, but then people call that a dotted line. I don't know. Just from end to end, not in the seam allowance, okay? Okay. Okay, so here is the seam that I just sewed there. I'll flip this over, and that was number 58. So I'll take the number 58 and turn it to the right. I'm going to fold back on the seam I just sewed. I'm going to put my add 1/8 ruler on that seam and trim. Okay, so now I'm going to go over and press that seam. Okay, so last piece to sew on. I'm going to take this piece and I want to make sure that the top of it is at least 1/8 to 1/4 inch above this line, which is the one we're about to sew. Let's see, I'll probably scooch it just so that it matches up with the other one. And double check that. Okay, looks good. Here. Okay, that's the seam I just sewed, which is number 59. So I'll take 59 and turn it to the right, fold back to the seam I just sewed, and trim. Okay, I'm gonna go press this and I'll be right back. Okay, so it looks a little weird right now, I know, because we're seeing it on the side where it's the finished side, and we really should do a little trimming up. So what I'm going to do is, I sort of want to keep it like a little bit on the big side just in case, because I'm still not sure what I'm going to do with them. So I'm just going to take the ruler, or a ruler, and I am going to put my 1/4 inch dotted line on the actual like seam allowance, on the outside of the seam allowance. That way I'm giving myself a full 1/2 inch beyond the 4 inches, and that should be plenty, but I want to make sure that I have like extra. So that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to trim it up. That is a very faint line. Okay, I think I have it on there. I think I have it on there. Okay, here we go. Okay. Well, actually, I might keep some of these. So those are pretty good size. Those are really good size, actually. Could definitely use those again. Okay. Okay, so once I do that and we flip her over, there you go. I think she looks wonderful. So I'll put that right next to Giuseppe's. I don't know, that might not be a very good comparison, but I'm happy with it. I think it looks really nice. I like it. And I can't wait to see all of the ones that you guys make. The ones that I have been seeing in the Facebook group and also on Instagram are absolutely gorgeous. I know that I'm going to have to do these another million times so that I can use even half as much creativity as you guys have been doing. So please keep it up. Keep posting them. I love seeing them. I know everybody else does. And thank you so much for coming and sewing along with me. I truly appreciate it. And hopefully I will see you guys next week. Happy sewing.